too shy to ask questions here. So we could bore you with these 40 slides. I mean, I guarantee that. We'll present you with a lot of information. But I know there are very specific things that you guys want to know. So I hope that you'll stop us along the way and just ask us, right? Because it's real important that you walk away from here with some of those questions answered. I read the papers. I know. So my name is John Hausmeyers. I'm the principal at Bow High School. Linda Frost is the assistant principal at Bow High School. I've been there 9 years. This is Linda's second year. We have program of studies here that you can grab if you'd like. We have some others right over there. You'll see all the different courses that we offer. We don't run them all every year because we can't possibly. Some of them we alternate. We just introduced a gaming class this past year, and if that's a popular class that kids take, then that will run, right? If it's not, then it won't run as frequently. So before we start, are there any questions that you guys have? And just like, both Linda and I still teach a class, so just like we say in our class, there's no stupid questions, right? And I guarantee if you're thinking it, somebody next to you is also thinking it. So anybody want to take a chance and just ask a question? Yes, ma'am.
Athletics.
Want to go right to that? Let's jump. All right. Let's go right to it. I don't know why we put this at the end. What were we thinking? There's our athletics. The only sport out there that we're not offering this year is alpine, because all of our alpine, that's downhill skiing, all of our alpine students last year were seniors, and we didn't have a team, so we didn't fund it for this year. I'm sure it will be back. We have, as I think most of you know, Dunbarton just started coming to Bow this past year, and a lot of kids came in asking about volleyball. We don't have, I'm pretty sure girls volleyball goes in the fall, boys in the spring. Is that right? It's hard with a school our size. We have about 526 kids right now. It's hard in a school our size to offer both, or all three, girls volleyball, girls field hockey, girls soccer. You know, it's just hard to sustain. The numbers come up a little bit. I mean, we would try it. You know, I've urged the kids who are interested in volleyball to start a club. Let's do that. I know when my kids were younger, everyone's playing baseball, then they offered a lacrosse program, and suddenly, you know, all the kids are playing lacrosse, and the parents were thrilled because there was a lot of action, and they run home and they're tired. So, you know, things change according to the population. I think one of the things that I hope you'll get out of this tonight, even in such a short period of time, is that we build the programs that kids really need. And this is a changing learning environment for kids. So we change the sports, we add classes here all the time. We change stuff that we're doing in order to meet the needs of kids and to challenge the kids and what they're looking for. Yes?
How is, like, the football or lacrosse, how are they structured? Is there a freshman team?
When we've had enough numbers, I think it was like 5 years ago, Bow High School was about 660, because that was about 12 years after the school was built, right? So people moved to these places, and that's usually your biggest population. So around that time, we had freshman football team, JV football, varsity football. We had some other freshman teams. I think we had a freshman basketball team too. Now our numbers have gotten smaller, so we don't offer as much.
Freshmen would jump in with the JV.
Right, exactly.
What is the spirit involved?
Cheerleading.
Is it competition?
Yep. They participate in state competitions. I would say there's a lot of gymnastics in that program now. They cheer for football. Yep. They do it in the wintertime too. There's not a squad in the springtime. Sure.
So block scheduling is something different than, let's say, Central K offer.
Right.
That the kids are used to. What
Right.
makes it maybe better or unique, and how do the kids adjust to block scheduling?
You know,
It's a long time for an hour and a half to be in a certain class.
You know, I can tell you, I still teach a class, and I can tell you from a teacher's perspective, I love the modified block. I don't like a 4x4 block. I've never worked in an environment where there was a 4x4 block, because I think a 4x4 block goes way too fast. And I can't imagine why they would ever have a moment in a kid's high school career where you wouldn't be taking a math class, right? Because, I mean, the greatest indicator of success later on is continuing math classes, right? Strong in math. So we offer a modified block. So you want to find that? So you did. So on the left-hand side here, a Monday schedule, periods 1 through 8, 45 minutes a class, right? You might not take 8 classes, but they're 45-minute classes. So it kind of sets the week. Then the rest of them are 90-minute classes. So Tuesday and Thursday are odd periods, 1, 3, 5, 7. Wednesday, Friday, 2, 4, 6, 8. So you see every class 3 times a week. I can tell you, the Mondays are brutal. Because if you look at that schedule, you don't have to work in education to know that there's 8 periods and there's 2 transitions per period. So there's 16 transitions per day. There's so much lost time in a day with that kind of schedule. In a block schedule, I have students come in, so I teach a writing class. So I have students come in, we start something on the Monday, and we're going to start teaching kids how to write. You often start right from the beginning at a high school level, and now they're at the computers and they're working on it. And now they're printing it, and now they're sharing it with a peer, and now they go back to revise it. In a 90-minute period, we can get all that done. I mean, the pacing of it, and what it requires is great teachers, right? What it requires are teachers who understand that I can't lecture for 90 minutes. I want to build some activities for our kids that's going to get them up, get them involved, get them interacting, get them collaborating, working on group stuff, doing presentations. Tomorrow my kids are doing big presentations in the class. That's what we've been doing for the last 2 days. I think the bigger adjustment to your question is that Bow High School is heterogeneously grouped. We don't level our students. Right? That's probably, for some people, a deal breaker. I've worked in both environments, and I can tell you, I love this more than any of those other environments. Because I've worked in schools where they had 4 tracks per grade, or per class. And you knew if you were a bluebird, and you knew when you were the robin, and you knew exactly what group you were in. And the problems associated with that were epidemic in a school. And the kids who were super bright, they were fine with that, but nobody else was. So in our school, when you don't have any levelized classes, it requires incredibly gifted teachers who are able to differentiate in a class. So in my writing class, I'm not saying I'm an incredibly gifted teacher, but I have 9th through 12th grade kids in that class. So I've got kids, which is not to say the 9th graders are the weakest writers, because they're not, but I've got all ranges of abilities. And every teacher in our school faces the same thing. And you have to be really effective at both supporting this kid and challenging that kid. And our teachers are. I mean, it's just a phenomenal staff. A couple of people in the other groups have asked about like teacher accountability kind of stuff. And sort of that good old boy. That was like the implication. Little good old boy. You guys play golf together. Your job is safe. That kind of thing. And I can tell you, when you work in a school like Bow, where everybody is really doing some great stuff. I mean, people are going after grads, people are after school doing things, people are doing stuff with kids all the time. You're just operating at that level because you realize it's a different game. And if you're not pulling your weight, I call them on it. I do. And it's formal. It's not just a little side conversation. It's formal. We address it. We're very serious about that. Yes, ma'am.
So I was reading about your honors option. So that's kind of independent because you don't offer separate honors classes.
Correct.
Along with what
yes.
you said. So the students, say for math, say they're in calculus, and they're taking honors. So they have extra work beyond what the regular class is doing.
They could.
To get their honors credit.
Yes, ma'am. And they will, some classes have got like packaged options for that class. Other classes will say, well, what are you really interested in? And you'll say, I'm really interested in getting that MacArthur Genius grant. How did that guy just win $500,000 in New Hampshire for that new number thing? Well, why don't we develop an honors option about that? And you could find out exactly what he did. And then it's almost like an independent study built into the class. And parents would say, well, I want my kid to be challenged, but I don't want additional work. Well, this is challenge and additional work. It's going to be both.
So are the teachers there, do they have the time to help with the additional work, or is it totally independent?
Yes, they do. The teachers do support that. What we've been starting to do this year is put teachers in duties where they're available to help kids individually. We have National Honor Society students who man this one place 8 periods or all periods a day. So kids there's a wide range of support available. There is. Yes?
To piggyback a little off of that, so I think the concept of no class rank is probably new to some of us. What happens? Is something reported to the colleges? How does that look at the end of 4 years?
You know, it became sort of that apple and pine trees kind of comparison. because different schools, different sized schools, what did a GPA really mean? It had to have a context. So it was misleading. A kid could be 30th in the class in one school, and more comparable to the first kid in this other school. So when I've talked to counselors about that, because that conversation has happened quite a bit, as you'd imagine, the strength of you as an academic student is not just based upon your transcript and the kind of weight that those classes may have, but for college admissions, it's totally based upon your whole package. What else have you done? Because just being a super bright engineer is not going to be enough. There have to be these other things as well. So if you don't mind, I'll just share some of the questions that came around before too. 90% of our kids go on to colleges. About 75-ish% go to a 4-year school. About less than 20% to a 2-year school. We have less than a 1% dropout rate every year. We have very few kids drop out. I can't even remember when the last time that happened. We have kids who go to Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Dartmouth, that great welding program in Chicago. The range of things. A lot of kids are getting into concurrent enrollment, the internships that we offer. Yes, ma'am.
So along that line, out of the students who go to college, how many of them are offered scholarships?
I always say, at the end of the year, we have our senior scholarship night, and I always say every freshman should be mandatory attendance, because the amount of money that is distributed at that time is just amazing. We've had kids, I think they're in the 9 years I've been there, I think there were 3 or 4 years that kids got a 4-year ROTC scholarship. We have kids going to the academies. We had 1 year, 3 girls got accepted into West Point. And had all 3 of them accepted, it would have been the first school in the United States where 3 girls from the same graduating class went to West Point. But they didn't. 2 went, and 1 went to Dartmouth. So, and these are all regular kids. It's not like, wow, these are all unbelievable brainiacs. I can't get to that level. These are kids who just find themselves in an environment where everybody is working hard, everybody's really enjoying each other's company. We really, as far as climate and culture of the school, it's very positive, very supportive. No kids are left behind. Several parents have kind of lingered afterward to ask special ed kinds of questions, and I can tell you, I worked in special ed for years, and I can tell you that the programs that we offer to kids both challenge and provide the levels of support that they need. And it's a great school. It really is. Sir.
Parking seems to be difficult in some of these schools How is it, let's say, some of these kids might be eligible for a license late in their sophomore year, let's say more like their junior year.
Right.
What's parking like?
We have 225 parking spaces. I typically authorize issuing about 250, because at any given day, not everybody is there. For kids who don't buy parking permits, we have a big dirt lot right out at the end of the road. You got to walk a little further, but it's downhill, so you can take your scooters, guys, right down from the top there. So sophomores do get licenses halfway through the year. If we have enough parking permits, we'll issue them, right? And now we do. When we were at 660, we didn't. We didn't issue permits to sophomores, but we let the sophomores park in the dirt lot. And that's plowed in the wintertime, too. By the way, you guys get the award for the best questions. Keep it up. I love this. Yes, ma'am.
What time does school start?
7:30. 7:30 to 2. Why is that a yes? Why is that good?
It's 10 minutes, though. It's 20 minutes. Really?
It's one of the longer school days in the year, in the state, 7:30 to 2:50. But we have a break built in the middle of the morning. And that's often when our clubs and groups will meet, because our kids are so active. 70% of our kids are in sports, 35% of our kids are in performing arts. So we do our clubs and groups in the middle of the day, in the middle of the morning. So we have, I call it high school recess. They go, no, it's break, it's not recess. So 7:30. And if you're a junior or senior and you don't have a first or last period class, you don't have to come in right away. Right, so if you're a junior and you're eligible, right? You're keeping those grades up, you're doing good things. You can sleep in until 9 o'clock and to get to your 9 o'clock class. Yes?
Where do they swim?
We swim at, I know we've used the YMCA in Goffstown, and we use the facility in Concord. I forget the name of it. Yes?
Band, how big is it?
It has been steadily growing. Our population is growing again, and it's steadily growing. I think we have about 40 in the band now. My band students, I know that, especially because we're in the band room, I'll get to you in a second, because we're in the band room, they would say, tell everybody to take 8 classes, because there's no homework for band. But one of the really cool things about the music program this year is that we're offering orchestra at night for a credit. Right? It used to be just an after-school kind of activity. Now we're doing it as credit bearing. We're starting to flex our schedule a little bit more. Senior seminar class, which our seniors take, that takes place in the summertime and during the school year. But we find that seniors who are trying to manage their senior year and all the college application process, being able to concentrate just on senior sem in the summertime is really good. So maybe we should go to the music slide.
Yes.
Sir?
Athletics-wise and after-school clubs, is there any sort of later transportation like late bus or?
Dunbarton just started coming to Ball High School this year, and they have a late bus, and I think that's a great idea. I think if there were right now the maximum number of Hooksett students that we take is 10, and I don't think I mentioned it in this group. We've had I think 5 or 6 coming every year for the past 4 years or so. So last year we had our first Hooksett graduates. They fit right in. They thrive. They're involved with engineering and soccer and lacrosse and all different kinds of things. But there wasn't any transportation provided by Hooksett. The Dunbarton transportation is provided by the town of Dunbarton. So I think you ought to talk to your school board members about that one. Yes?
Is there any transportation to the school?
Not from Hooksett. No, there is within Bow and Dunbarton. They do, but there's no arrangement set up with the town of Hooksett yet for that. Hooksett's got to provide that. God, you guys asked some great questions.
I'll ask another one. So looking at the curriculum, it looks a little bit more difficult than some of the other schools in terms of taking VLAX course where you can match it 1-to-1. So for example, a BEST, that seems like it's 2.5 years of health/phys ed, which is different than most other schools.
It is.
Can you take a VLAX course instead of a BEST course? Like if you want to take it during the summer versus taking...
Yep, we've allowed those kind of options. I mean, I think there are probably more options for students, and if you take that question and apply it across the curriculum, there's a lot of that goes on now. Our best class is integrated health and wellness, so instead of a separate health class and a separate PE class, which is the kind of school that I grew up in, which is pretty traditional, now there's many different options. Some kids who take a 20-credit diploma don't want to take all that PE and health. They'll do the state requirement of 2 years. We have a 2.5-year requirement, right? Some kids opt to take that half a semester, that third year, that half a year, their senior year. Because junior year, they're really focused on academics. They're not exactly coasting senior year, but they've taken a lot of the classes that they want on their transcripts when they send to college applications. So, yeah, we do approve those kinds of things. What? No more questions? You guys are asking great questions, though.
I've got on some of the activities that the BEST program supports. We've got our own climbing wall.
We've got a climbing wall inside. We have a great ropes course behind the school. Linda talked about the senior project. 1 year, a senior put in a zip line. Done some great projects. This year, right now, a student is working on starting a Best Buddies program at our school, and that we expect to be sustainable and continue. Just some great programs. Questions?
Dual enrollment might be a good thing.
A what?
Dual enrollment.
The concurrent enrollment classes, right?
I don't think we've talked about that yet.
How do you make that, Mark?
Sorry, here they have they can bring their device to
Yes.
school. Do you guys have that?
Yep,
at
we
your
do.
school also?
And we're going to be moving to a one-to-one initiative pretty soon, one-to-one computers. It's funny, the conversations we have now with kids about their smartphones. It's like, put that away until we ask you to pull them out. So in my class, it's a film critique class. It's a writing class, and somebody will bring up a question about what was that movie that Leonardo DiCaprio was in, and before you know it, somebody's like, oh, that was 19 so and so Titanic or whatever. So a lot of teachers are inviting kids to use their smartphones in class. We have laptop carts. Our library has really become a learning commons where there's a lot of different options for learning in there, areas set up for kids to access technology, people available to help them with that. I would tell you, if you're a kid sitting here looking at some of this stuff, don't be intimidated, because it looks like it's really like maybe challenging, and we think it is, but you'll get there. I mean, when you went from kindergarten or elementary to middle, you probably were thinking, wow, it's going to be harder in middle school, and I'm sure it was. It's going to be harder in high school too, but you'll be ready for it. Some great programs. Sir?
Which college, is there a local college you're affiliated with for the?
Concurrent enrollment, we have articulation agreements with NHTI and SNU, and we're looking to set one up with UNH as well. We're almost at the point where kids can earn an associate degree, not quite. If they were to take all these classes like junior, senior year, they're not limited to juniors and seniors, sophomores can take them also. So yeah, it's great opportunities. They cost $100 each to take one. That money is paid to the college, not to us, but it's recognized by the colleges as credit that's earned. And we're trying to increase that every year. And more kids are taking them every year.
How much bigger is the school going to get? So you're adding in the park. So what's it now?
The projections are that it won't be as big as it was, after the school was 12 years old, right? Because a lot of town schools are built, people move in, that's the biggest population. So about 5 or 6 years ago, we were at about 660, 665. The school is built to take more than that. With the projections of Dunbarton, unless they change their lot sizes or something, that's the only way that would change that, but nobody's projecting that would happen. It's going to be 630, 640. Yes, ma'am.
I lost it. It'll come back. Go ahead.
What about the younger folks that are here? What questions do you have? Because we'll be out of time soon. What questions have not been answered for you? Yes.
So with the 10-student cap limit, what if that is broken? How does that process work?
Great question. You're going to be school board. I think that's something that you have to work through your school administration and the school board. That's an agreement between the Hooksett School Board and the Bow School Board, and I think that's how that gets addressed.
And would the Dunbarton situation affect the size of the cap?
It could, because it relates to your question. Right? Could we take in 300 more kids? We could. But what would be the maximum that we could? One of the questions that the first question I was asked tonight is one I'd just like to bring up that nobody did tonight. Was how does my kid come to Bow and not feel like an outsider? Right? How do they, we're from Hooksett, everybody's going to know. Well, we've had Hooksett kids coming in for the last 4 years, and they fit right in. And now we just got a whole group of just 9th grade Dunbarton kids coming in. So that was on my mind as well, and on our mind when we first started the school year. So we knew the kids were coming in. So we use this thing that's been introduced by smarter people than me called GIS, Geographic Imaging Systems. Have you heard of that? You heard of that? So we're starting to use that, and it's really exciting. It's almost so easy that even I can do it. But I got the help of one of the math teachers in our school who's kind of leading that initiative. And what it is just basically putting data points on a map. So we knew the kids were coming from all over, and we wanted to show people show the student body in our first opening what that really looked like. So on a map, if you pictured like where we are right now, on a map, here's all the Hooksett kids. Then we backed it out a little, and here's all the Bow kids. And then we backed it out a little, and here's all the Dunbarton kids. And then we backed it out a little bit more, and we saw there was about 8 kids from New Hampshire that had moved to the area to come to Bow High School. And then we backed it up again, and we saw that there was like another half a dozen from New England that came to Bow High School. And then we backed it up again. There was another 5 kids that came from throughout America to move to Bow High School. And then we backed it up again, and there were 3 other kids that came from different parts of the globe to Bow High School. And suddenly kids realized that everybody was coming from someplace else. That everybody starting school as freshmen
Can I have your
all
attention,
had
please?
something
That
new
concludes
and had this
session
great
3.
opportunity to meet all new
And
kids.
there's 5 minutes past
And
the time
we-
begins
and
now.
again, that
And
transition
session
doesn't
4
happen
begins
on the
promptly
first
at
day.
8 p.m.
That
Again,
transition
concludes
happens
Session 3, and please
well
move on
before
to
you get
session 4, which begins at 8 p.m. Thank you.
Dr. Cascadden, school superintendent, is guiding a tour on Friday at 1 o'clock in the program of studies. You'll see his email address inside on the first or second page. If you wanted to do a tour on Friday, please drop him an email. If you can't do it on Friday and you'd like to do a tour at another time, please just send him an email, and I know there's a lot of folks who come in and tour. So
Shadowing or just the tour?
it's a tour. You'll have a chance to chat with him, ask questions.
But the kids can't go with another child for a whole day so that they can have the total experience?
Talk to me about that individually, because we can't really allow lots of that, but on occasion we have had kids do that. You know, I mean, I couldn't say, oh yeah, you know, we had 20 kids this week and it would be too overwhelming, but we've had those random requests and we've honored some of them when we could. Yep.